Hello and welcome back, and welcome if you're new here. My name is Hannah and this is Jar of Fireflies. Here you'll find content all about my life as an Orthodox Jewish homeschooling mother of 3. And today is Friday, which means that tonight starts Shabbat. Okay, so I'm headed off on my morning walk right now. Something that I've started doing. If you missed my last video, I talked about it there. But I'm headed off to meet my friends. We can walk around the neighborhood. And then I'm gonna go home and be getting ready for Shabbat. I'm so excited. I'm gonna be doing some cleaning today because I didn't get to as much of that yesterday as I would have liked. And I'm gonna be doing some cooking. I'm gonna be making a couple of very traditional Shabbat foods today, and I'll take you guys along for that. And other than that, I'm not totally sure. We're gonna figure it out, just like every other day, right? So I've actually been awake for a while this morning, but I didn't film it because it was super boring. I did not sleep well last night, so we'll see how today goes. But anyways, I've been up for a few hours already. Yay. Yeah, it's like 7 o'clock right now, but yeah. But just doing boring stuff on the computer, getting ready for some scout stuff. So I did not film that because not terribly exciting. But anyways, off to meet my friend. And I'll check back with you guys after I get back home. We walked for about an hour and got in about a little over 3.5 miles. So a pretty good walk, pretty good pace. I was very happy with it. It was great catching up with my friend. And yeah, I'm super loving this new routine that I have of walking with my friend during the week. It's so helpful for me on so many levels and just a great way to start my day. Okay, I am home, I'm showered, ready to go, except my house is like a huge mess. So I am going to, let me turn the lights on. I'm gonna focus on getting the kitchen cleaned because yeah, it's just a little bit of a mess still. My husband does most of the cooking, but he doesn't do the cleaning. That's me. But that works for me. So I'm gonna get things cleaned up and then I'm gonna work on the last couple of dishes that I am going to make for Shabbat, and then we'll see what's next. Oh, and I'm gonna grab some bread. I need to thaw bread. For tonight. I bake in advance so that I don't have to worry about baking just all the time. And I freeze it. So there, I just have to have this thaw out. So done. Okay, I'm gonna get to cleaning. So my husband and I have pretty traditional roles as far as my husband is going to work every day and I'm staying home as a stay-at-home mom with the kids every day and doing the homeschool thing with them, and I clean the house and that sort of thing. But here's where we get a little non-traditional. So my husband really loves to cook. I also really love to cook. But I also know that I can't do everything all the time. And since my husband loves to cook, he does most of our cooking. He loves to cook during the week. He does pretty much all of our cooking for Shabbat, unless I just decide to add in a couple of things like I am this week. And I kind of have been more recently lately adding in some extra dishes for Shabbat. But I also take care of the lawn. My husband doesn't do the lawn care at all. So I'm the one who's outside mowing the yard, tending to the landscaping, anything like that outdoors, like that's me. So this ends up being kind of funny. Usually on a Thursday night, I'm outside mowing the yard because my husband is home cooking for Shabbat. So he can be inside with the kids while I'm outside mowing the yard by myself. Because yeah, having all the kids outside while I'm mowing is difficult, to say the least. So anyways, Thursday nights, he's home cooking, I'm outside mowing the yard. And it's very funny because especially when it's hot outside, my husband will come out wearing an apron and bringing me a nice cool drink while I'm mowing the yard. And I just kind of laugh at our very non-traditional roles in that aspect. Let me know in the comments what your favorite non-traditional role is that you take care of around your house or that your spouse takes care of around your house. I'm always curious to know, how other people live. I think that's why it's so much fun to do the vlogging, because it gives other people an insight into how I live. But I enjoy watching these also because I get to see how other people live. So yeah, that's our non-traditional roles, with my husband doing the cooking for Shabbat, generally speaking, and me doing the cleaning up, But that is why the kitchen is such a mess right now. My husband, is an excellent cook, but he is not so into the cleanup part. He's just not as tidy and neat as me. When I cook, I clean as I go. Y'all will see that later when I start cooking. Everything stays very clean. And I also can't really start until the kitchen is clean, which is the other reason that I wanted to do all of this now, so that when I get started cooking, I have a clean work area to start with. Okay, now that I have a pretty clean kitchen, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the recipes. The first one I'm gonna be doing is called a potato kugel. So a kugel is basically a casserole typically made with potatoes or noodles, but people I know pretty much make them out of everything. I've seen broccoli kugels, sweet potato kugels, as well as the traditional potato kugel, which is what I'm making right now. Now, I feel like I need to add this little note here in as well. A kugel is traditionally an Ashkenaz food, which means basically like a dish traditionally made by Jews of European descent. And my family is of North African descent. So we are what is called Sephardis, and we have our own style of cooking. This is not our style of cooking, but this is something that my kids really, really love, and I quite enjoy myself. So that is why I am making it, and it's something that I do only make for Shabbat. It is traditionally made for Shabbat. So just that little side note there. Okay, so basically what I am doing is just peeling a bunch of potatoes. It doesn't matter what kind you're using. I'm using about 3 different kinds of potatoes while I'm peeling here. All that matters is that you have potatoes. Okay, so now that they are peeled, I'm grabbing my grater. Now there's 2 sides on my grater. One you saw had much wider holes, the other one was much smaller. I'm using the smaller side to grate my potatoes. Yes, I am well aware that I could do this in a food processor. I'm just not really into kitchen gadgets and things like that, so I am very old school, I guess, and I use the grater. I don't totally recommend this method because it takes longer and it's harder. So use a food processor, but basically grate your potatoes. So once you've gotten some potatoes grated, you'll want to go ahead and move those off the plate and into a bowl. Now I'm using a bowl with a strainer because I want the water from the potatoes to drain out. And a little bit later on, I'll show you, I'm actually going to push the water out of the potatoes as well because I really want them not completely dry, but I want a lot of that excess water that's in potatoes to not be cooking in with my kugel when I put it into the oven. All right, so once I've gotten all of my potatoes grated, I put them into my little bowl strainer combo so that they can just sit there and drain out on their own while I get to work on the onions. So I'm just peeling the onions, cutting off the ends and peeling the onions, and then I am going to grate them as well. Again, use a food processor. Don't be like me. It takes a while and your eyes will water because, oh my gosh, grating onions just makes you cry. Okay, so here I am just pushing out more of the water in the potatoes. And then once I've gotten that pretty well done and I've drained all the water out of the bowl on the bottom, then I'm pouring all of the potatoes into that bowl. Then I'm adding 3 whole eggs, and then I'm going to grab my grated onion and add that as well. You can see there's a lot of like onion water, I guess, whatever you want to call it, onion juice. I don't want that to go in there, so I'm just putting in the grated onion itself. Then I'm adding a little bit of canola oil, maybe about a 1/4 cup, some salt and pepper, and probably about a 1/2 cup to a cup of gluten-free flour. I went ahead and sprayed some canola oil into the casserole dish so that this would not stick tomorrow when we're trying to pull it out while we're eating our lunch. And then I just went to town mixing everything with my hands. Yes, it's gooey and gross. Wear a latex glove if you don't like to get dirty. Then I just poured everything into the baking dish, and then using my hands, I just kind of patted it all down so it was a little bit flat and not just a crazy big lump in the middle of the pan. And then I put it in the oven, which I had preheated to 350 degrees and set the timer for 1 hour. Okay, so that'll stay in for about an hour. Let's make the apple kugel. So naturally, I forgot to hit record and started going ahead and cooking, even though my camera was set up right in front of me. But anyways, in the bowl that I'm mixing there, what I've got going on is about a 1/3 cup of earth balance, about a cup of brown sugar, and about a 1/2 cup of gluten-free flour. The measurements aren't superbly important here, but you're going to want more sugar than anything else and less butter than everything else, and your flour somewhere in between. So then I'm just using a fork to cut the butter through all of the ingredients until I've got that nice and well mixed, and that will be my crumble topping. What I've got going on in the pan in front of that bowl is homemade apple pie filling. I have 2 quarts of apple pie filling in there. Making your own is awesome. If you're going to use a store-bought apple pie filling, I would just make sure it's got chunky apples in there and not like teeny tiny pieces of apples. So these are pretty good sized chunks going on. Okay, now that I feel like I've gotten that crumble topping mixed well enough, I'm just sprinkling it on top evenly. And then once I've got all that done, I'll be able to put it in the oven, still at 350 for about 45 minutes. If you're using fresh apples, you'll want to go for about an hour. Okay, so it's about an hour later. Got the potato kugel out of the oven. And we'll put the apple kugel in. And I'll do this for about 45 minutes. And there you go, 2 delicious side dishes that I can serve with our Shabbat lunch tomorrow, and this is key. I know my children will love them. Okay, so I've got my food over here all finished, and you're probably wondering why I kept calling that an apple kugel when I described kugel as being a casserole. Yes, this is basically an apple crisp, but somehow in Judaism it is completely acceptable to serve this along with your lunch, even though it is essentially apple cobbler, apple pie, apple crisp, whatever you want to call it. This definitely threw me off at the first meal that I had with a religious Jewish family, but I have to tell you, I am fully on board with this tradition of serving dessert along with lunch and calling it a side dish. So the last thing that I'm going to do to cook for Shabbat is throw together some chocolate chip cookies. And I'm going to do this by breaking up a package of cookie dough from my refrigerator. We like to use the Immaculate brand of chocolate chunk cookies. It's just a very easy break and bake cookie dough that is gluten-free. My son has celiac, so here at home, everything we do is gluten-free. That's why I was using the gluten-free flour and stuff like that before. By the way, anytime I mention gluten-free flour, just use regular flour if you don't need to keep gluten-free. Nothing special about gluten-free flour. So anyways, those take about 11 minutes to bake in the oven. That's what I found to be kind of the sweet spot for these cookies. So it's about 15 minutes from start to finish, pulling them out of the fridge, breaking them up, putting them in the oven, and then pulling them onto a cookie sheet. It's the easiest thing in the world. My kids and my guests all love these cookies. I highly recommend this brand. They're amazing. Okay, so those cookies are done. They smell amazing. Can't wait to eat those tomorrow. And another dish that we've got going on is our hameen. It's going over here in the crock pot, and that is basically a meat and potato dish. All right, so as far as food goes, that is about it. The cookies have come out of the oven. I've made those side dishes for tomorrow. The bread is thawing out. Last night, my husband put together some Moroccan fish, which is kind of his signature dish. That is what we have every Friday night. I'll show you that later when we heat it up right before Shabbat. And then a little bit later on, right before we eat, also my husband will throw together a whole bunch of salads that will decorate our table, and we will have that with my homemade bread. So the menu for tonight is bread, salads, Moroccan fish. When I say salads, I kind of mean more like what we might call dips in America. And then for lunch tomorrow, we will have our hameen, which is like a meat and potato stew, along with the apple and potato kugels and the chocolate chip cookies. And again, more salads and more bread. Okay, so I'm done in the kitchen now. I'm just gonna head around the house and start picking up, kind of tidying up a little bit, run the vacuum around one more time, finish putting all of the laundry away, and I will check back with you guys before I light my candles tonight. So we always set a really nice table for Shabbat. We want it to be special. We want it to be different from the rest of the week and just, a little fancy. We want it to feel very nice. Here by my husband's place, I'm setting out the challah board and 2 loaves of challah and a knife to cut the bread with. And there is our challah cover. I made that as a wedding gift for my husband right before we got married. It is cross-stitch. And there is our salt and our Kiddush cup. All right, so now I'm going to just start setting the rest of the table, plates, napkins, utensils, that sort of thing. We do have a special set of plates that we use only for Shabbat and holidays. So my kids each have their own Kiddush cup, which is a cup that we use for the wine or grape juice that we are making a special blessing over on Friday night and on Shabbat lunch. The kids really enjoy that. So my daughter saved this flower. It was the last one from the flowers from last week, and she wanted to have her own little vase to have this flower by her seat for Shabbat. My husband also always buys me flowers every week for Shabbat so that they can make our table a little bit more special and just give me a little bit more enjoyment for the day. So that's what I'm putting on the table now. And there is our Shabbat table all ready for our meal tonight. Okay, I think I'm all pretty much set now. I've got the table all set. I've got the flowers done. I have vacuumed and mopped the entire house. I am continuing to procrastinate the laundry. Who's with me on that one? There's like 4 loads of laundry in there for me to put away, and yeah, they're just sitting there. I may try to tackle just a tad of that, but it is almost 7 o'clock, which means Shabbat is starting very soon, and I need to go get ready because, hey, this is not a Shabbat dress. And this is not Shabbat hair. So I'm gonna go put on a wig and a pretty dress and just get a little cleaned up, a little bit more polished so that I can go into Shabbat feeling beautiful and happy and just enjoy my amazing evening and my amazing day tomorrow. All right, let's do this. All right, okay, I am all ready for Shabbat now, and it's just pretty much time to light candles, so I am gonna go ahead and call it a close here. Thank you all so much for coming along today. I hope you enjoyed getting a little insight into my weekly Shabbat prep. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe if you haven't already so that you don't miss any of my future videos. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in my next upload.